know that the Inuit tribe created a word for the feeling you get when you check your front door to find the person you said they'd be coming, but instead made a fool of your anxious heart? Why can't there be a statute of limitation on overused emotions like love or loneliness? Because right now it's 12:09, and it's getting hard to keep telling myself that people don't hold on to promises, and that's just life, that some arms just aren't meant to be held, and that no matter how many times you doodle the word love in perfect cursive and permanent ink, there will always be an empty bed waiting, big enough to store your hand-me-down PJs laced with the scent of your ex-lover, dear ex-lover. I wish you knew the way the stars on my bedroom wall gossiped about you, keeping these insomniac bones restless at night. I feel my insides churning, open, wide, burning, and patiently waiting for that someone. I know that no one deserves to feel like this, like their chest swelling big enough to stretch and manifest into a shelter where no one can come inside, where no one can even see this girl, where all the emotions in the world can be felt, but nothing can be dealt with properly. Love. It's 12:10 at night and my mind's just been racing. I was just thinking there are only two other feelings that match this. One's watching the same bouquet picked for a lover wither and dry. The other is forgetting the feeling of lying in another's arms with lips that only know the sweet bitterness of a good night, with someone waiting to hear the endless lyrics of fragmented poetry and insecurities and lifelong dreams and love that has turned sour, not once or twice, but the number of times I've stayed up waiting love. I think I forgot what a dream looks like. I think that I wear this heartache to bed too well, and sometimes I wonder, under all this armor, am I good enough? Because I'm scared, because nights like these are too familiar, and so I'm tossing and turning the pages of this love letter over and over again in my mind. Why can't we love in black and white together like those stars? They too fall, and maybe it's because they're tired of always standing so tall with everyone watching. See, those stars just like broken shards of hearts, too sharp to be mended, just want to be held. No one can see me undress these wounds underneath the bed sheets, all too acquainted with the aftershock of a kiss filled only with goodbyes, but your skin reminds mine of the way cotton on the inside of fresh Band-Aids feel, and before your arms I didn't remember ever not feeling like a girl, drowning, not fit for this queen-sized bed. But you helped me see that after a day's worth of work and hurt, tonight's just not meant to be spent alone. So let's forget about the number of loves lost, and let's remember that somewhere in the night sky, the stars spell out our name and love. That's more beautiful than anything. And let's forget about the hurt that can only be brought by loneliness, then bitterness, then the courage to wake up next to an identical soul, but at least you won't have to go through the pain alone. And I may not be perfect, but I will always have a bed made with enough compassion to even love those demons you try so hard to bury. I know far too well. I know there are all kinds of words to describe states like loneliness and grief, but what about the feeling of 1,000 tainted butterflies taking their last flight in the pit of your stomach at 12:30 at night? These sorrow-soaked sheets commemorate 3 loves, each of which traded in the cold of these 4 walls for an even bigger city. They could not see the scars they left behind, their stride filled with poise, but I will never forget. And what do you say to a hopeful heart that only knows loneliness? Well, on every full moon you tell her that she's beautiful, that someday she will be worthy, that in some way these insomniac bones will unlearn hurt and the dial tone of an ex-lover that has changed his number, but you remember her of those stars, and how they fall, and how some go unnoticed, unwished on, unspoken for, but that doesn't mean they don't shine. Even if my restless mind can't fathom a dream tonight, I will love her like nobody's watching.
Wow, filled with a lot of emotion. Very well done, very well done. All right, Nicole, you're up next. Let's give her a nice round of applause.
lower. Oh, thank you. Okay, so I wrote this one last night. I have pretty bad insomnia, but I stay up past 12:38. Okay. So, I don't want to touch this, but it's like in my face. I hide my emotions. Sometimes I wish I were soulless. Control this. I can't handle this distress. I fail at it. I break down because of it. I want to bail on this life. I am hopeless. Dear God, I applaud you for giving me this not-so-blessed gift. A curveball I cannot seem to catch. It seems you want me to fail at your game of fetch. I'm up for the challenge. This is my weakness, and I embrace this difference. I love my AD. Wait, I can't concentrate. I hate the way my brain becomes irate. When I must focus, I can't relate. Meds to make me straight. Why must society operate with so much hate? My grades suffocate. Because I'm not the same in my brain, I must not complain, but strain to be same. Life, it can be so frustrating. I don't understand most things. Life is brilliant. Everyone's is different. We each have our own story, our own glories. We each have our own weaknesses, but most times we don't speak of this. We often let weakness defeat us. The human race needs to stop this. You, me, he, she, they, we can beat this. You and I, let's keep our pride. Life, we must face it, not fast pace it. We are young, so the future awaits us. Let's live right now. We must embrace it. Embrace your weakness, chase it. You are you, why change it? Seek your peace, follow your dreams, and take your chance. Take it. I think that's it. None of my other stuff is good. Just kidding.
Good job, Nicole. Good job. Alright, well, next I'm going to be performing a couple of my pieces of art. Hope you guys enjoy them. One I've been working on for a couple of weeks, and another one I wrote last night. So, see how this goes.
I thought it would be easy to defeat the grieving. At least, that's what I was believing. But it's not. My mind deceived my thought, and I caught myself in a lie. It's hard to keep your head up when there's so much weighing it down, and it's hard to speak out when you can't seem to make a sound. It's hard to feel loved when it seems no one's around. I feel like a tree with no leaves, and it's hard to see a bright future when there's nothing for the sun to give light to. How can I walk this path when it seems no one will guide me? I just need a confession session to do some confiding, because emotions are eternal if you let them build inside you. They're only there to remind you of the hard times you've been tried through. Grieving is not a fun feeling, because it's a feeling that's dealing with hurt. And it's hard to convert hurt to happiness when you wear it on the sleeve of your shirt. It's an Armageddon that takes an arm to get in order to compete. It's cut me up and tabbed me out, some stitches are in need. It's rattled my heart, I've shed some tears, my strength is seemingly weak. On the brink of defeat, I've been knocked off my feet, my face is embedded in mud. But as the rain goes away, it showers grace upon my face to show a sign of hope. But it doesn't seem close. As a matter of fact, it seems remote. I'll need to emulate some energy to evoke. Although the one thing that is close is my heart's will to devote the time to reach the remote to get my life in control. If you think you've hit rock bottom, that's where you've got a problem. See, the problem with that is things can always get worse. And that's when you become vulnerable. You don't prepare for the worst, and you let up the fight, letting grief take over your might. The next thing you know, another misfortune strikes, and you're left like a deer in the headlights, blinded by fright. Hopelessness waits at the gate for you to claim your stake at what kind of life you're assigned to. Grief can feel bleak, but don't let it confine you. It's your life to live, don't look what's behind you. If you get knocked down, don't look up, get up and look around you. Looking up will blind you from what's right beside you. Like you've been hit by an uppercut and left unprotected in the upper gut, free for grief to strike twice, leaving you under the bus. But you gotta fight back, tell your lips to pucker up, and strike back with a sucker punch. Because life without trials is like being in court with no judge. There would be no words to write a sentence to. If tribulations were to never be faced, you'd be constantly stuck in a complacent place, where there's nothing to live for except an eternal case to stare at space. Courage would cease to exist, and strength would be but muttered gibberish. So whenever your head feels weighed down, exercise your persistence. When you can't seem to speak out, let your actions become precedent. And if you feel no one's around you, look inside you to find what defines you, because what defines you is needed for your survival. Don't let grief and defeat be what define you, because I can tell you from experience, putting up a fight is vital. I take pride in my weakness, because without them, I wouldn't know my strengths. And this next one I wrote is the one that I did last night. It's just a poem kind of about irony. What is life but a bunch of irony? Ever noticed that or had the desire to see? We live to die, yet die to live, grasping to life, asking Him to forgive. It doesn't really come to mind that in the sudden blink of an eye, your life could be on the line, clinging to hope, pleading to survive. Thinking that you're immune to a disease that anyone is prone to. Funny though, how irony is everywhere. You just gotta look for it. Like how religion seeks peace, but peace seems non-existent. We denigrate discrimination, but racism continues to disseminate. What is race but a color, when color is creation of the mind? What does color have to do with anything when we're all the same on the inside? More things are said to our back because we can't seem to face our problems. Instead of trying to say it to their face, we steal their self-esteem and rob them. It's like the truth's become a knife, trying to stab at thin air. And what does that even solve? Besides the fact that air can't be stabbed, it's pointless to say something if it doesn't help solve the problem. And the problem with that is the problem's left unsolved. Irony, people, it really is everywhere. You just gotta look for it. With hopes for the economy's growth, the government sets us up with debt. That's like drinking while pregnant and not expecting a birth defect. Or how people always look for love when it isn't something simply found. Why would you search for something that can only be felt, not found? It's like looking for the gust of wind that knocked you to the ground, trying to punch it in the face by yelling really, really loud. God gave us two hands to work with, yet we expect things to be handed to us. He gave us a brain to think with, only to act before we think. He gave us two legs to walk with, but expect people to guide us. He gave us two eyes to see with, but we are still blind to what's right beside us. He gave us a mouth to speak with, only to speak with words that degrade. We look for happiness in ourselves by taking it away from others. What used to be considered ugly is what we now call beautiful. Sticks and bones with skin that's toned, a body unrealistically curvy. 8-packs with luscious locks, muscles that have muscles is considered worthy. Having a badass attitude and no respect, that's how you get a girl today. But yesterday, if you lacked respect, girls would simply say, no way. We take simple things for granted that others would treasure royalty. Like take our water, for example. You can find some everywhere here on hand. But there are people in Africa who can only drink water from their hands. Because running water only exists to those who have the upper hand. Really though, isn't that ironic how we live to die? Isn't it an interesting concept? We begin our lives in a womb and we spend an eternity in a tomb. We avoid taking risks because risk to many spells death. But living without risk will result in a death with nothing to give. People live to be remembered, but your death would be forgotten. Oh, the irony of irony. How something so simple can keep life interesting. I mean, if irony didn't exist, courage would be but a mysterious mist. You can see that it's there, but there's nothing you can do to it except let it sit. So let irony become an incentive, show some grit and man up to it. You only have one life to live, so why not make it ironic and die for it?
So up next we have Timmy Turner, who is going to be performing one or two.
My hands are a little sweaty. Alright, I actually have 3 short ones for you guys. Let's see, the first one is Names. It's inspired by a poem by Kim Roberts called Labels. Things are easier to handle when they've got names. My first filling was Jerry, and the next few Rita, Andrew, and Tommy turned out less threatening because they were Rita, Andrew, and Tommy. Titles do justice, but names offer company, and I'll take the company of Kristoff on my wall over an anonymous wolf spider any day of the week. I can't deny the sentiment of a madman in love, but a rose by any other name might just smell sweeter.